So John, can you tell us about your family?
Yes, my family in Grange go back a long, long way. The first principal of the school here in Grange was my great-grandfather. And the lady principal was also my great-grandmother. There was two schools in Grange at the time. There was a boys' school and a girls' school with separate principals in each school. And my great-grandfather came to teach in Grange in 1863. Right, and he died in 1890. And he married a Bridget Burke, who had come from Mayo to teach in the girls' school, and she became principal of the girls' school. He was originally from Phelan, and the first time he came to teach in the school for the first couple of weeks or couple of months, he walked from Phelan to Grange every morning and back again that evening. And then he stayed in Donniswell then, in Diggs after that, down by, I think it's where Mars Halley's house, around that area. Then when they got married, a certain farmer in the area presented the parish with a site to build a residence for the principal teacher. It's at the corner. I ever know the corner above in the Grange where the stone house is. At the corner. That was the residence, and it took 2 years to build, and apparently it was the biggest site given to any parish in any diocese in the country for the principal residence. So while the school was being built, himself and his wife lived at the back of the church in the sacristy. There was a couple of rooms there. So they lived there for 2 years until the house was finished, and then they moved into the house. So, and then Thomas Hackett's daughter, Mary Hackett, became principal of the girls' school, and that lady would have been my grandmother. So she was principal until the school was amalgamated in 1932, when James Mulcahy came from Newcastle. He was principal from 1904, and the two schools amalgamated, so they came together in 1904. My father then, Michael, my grandmother, Marie Phelan, married a John Joe Phelan, who was a policeman in Ballinacamry in the area, and they got married in 1909, and my father and his family were born in the schoolhouse in Grange, and then they moved to Monk's Grange, which was where I live now, in 1934 or 35. And from then on, then there's myself then. I've one brother who's farming in the home farm, and I've 5 sisters who are scattered all over the country. 2 in Wexford, 1 in Waterford, 1 in Dublin, and 1 in Limerick.
And what are your earliest memories of family life?
My earliest memory of family life, I suppose, is helping around the farm, getting small jobs here and there. I was running around the fields, jumping ditches and chasing cattle, probably hunting men, and so on and so forth, basically. And of course, being looked after very well by my mother, feed me well and give me nice food as well.
Where did you come in your family? Were you
I
the
was
oldest?
the eldest, yes, I was the eldest, yeah.
And did you have certain responsibilities being the eldest?
Not really, just like everybody had to muck in and do their jobs. In those days, there was like you had hens and cows and cattle, and things had to be done around the farm all the time. So the boys generally walked outdoors with some of the girls, and some of the girls maybe walked indoors.
Was there any common name in your area?
Yeah, there was not too well. There was O'Connors and there was Keatings and there was English would be the 3 common names as far as I could remember. There was 3 or 4 families of each around the area.
And how many families would have been roughly around the area?
Well, I'm just going through it on the road from Grange down to the end of Clofty Hill. I counted 14 families when I was growing up, starting at Retreaties, and of the 14 families there are only 3 of the original families are still left. There's all new people in there. Like we start on the road there's the first house was Jack Reedy's, then there was Brabson's here alongside the school, there was Mick O'Connor's, Toomey's, English on the other side of the road, Cronan's, Tom Conroy's where Tony O'Reilly is now. There was Phelan's, there was a cottage at the end of the hill there was O'Sullivan's. The Ford was on the right hand side at the end of the hill. There was another family, there was Keatings where all the Hepburns are now, do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there was Lamsons down below Ryan's and Kylie's. And there's only the, say, O'Connor's, Phelan's and the Tesquin of English left of the 3 original families.
Would you go down to any of the castles around your area?
Yes, up to the Phelan Castle, we often climb up to the top of that against the rules and regulations of everybody. We managed to get to the top several times. I won't say how. And I tell you, it was quite dangerous. I wouldn't recommend it to people nowadays. I'd say it's in worse condition.
What do you think would be the main changes?
Where in the area or on the farming, or where are you talking about?
Just the area.
I suppose mechanisation, cars, transport, computers, television, mobile phones. I suppose the biggest change is the lack of community in the parish. Everybody's just passing each other around now. Nobody hardly knows their neighbours. There's no kind of people calling the houses, no chit chat. The only time you have chit chat now maybe might be a bit after mass, but then people going to mass are not as regular as they were either.
Has there been a lot of changes, or only a few?
Huge, massive changes. Even for example, look at to just say from a sporting point of view, a pitch up there, top class, a pitch in Phelan, a pitch in Grange, where people can go to play games, be involved in different things. Like those facilities were never there. In the old days, in our day, there was a field up there, it was called Willie's Field, and any hurling and football was done there.
And there was reading Erskine, and apparently you were an altar boy.
Yes, I was, yes.
And you mentioned Ned Heffernan would help you.
Did
What would he help you?
He was the kind of Saxon at the time down, so he'd come in and he'd teach you. Was said in those days Latin mass was said in Latin, so you have to learn off the Latin lines as well. So he'd come in and use it and Latin, and he'd make us do things fail right to, because some was a habit of a small bit of messing, maybe ringing the bell a bit louder and longer, or hitting the gong when you shouldn't, little things like that.
And would you have any difference in the masses today, from today and back then?
Well, as I said, the mass in those was in Latin, so you didn't understand what was being said, to be honest, but you just there listened to all Latin lines, all Latin sayings and so on and so forth, except the sounds were in English. And then often after mass again, you would have the benediction. And I tell you a small story about benediction. I was only small out of band, very small, but Father Donald was there, and you to go behind him to put a gown on his neck, and he's shaking incense, and I couldn't reach up, so I decided I'd stand on his heels. I got up and put the gown, so he didn't like it very much when he found this one standing on his legs.
And did you get paid to be an altar boy?
Oh, it was big money for an altar boy in those days, yeah. No, you didn't get paid. But in funerals and weddings, you were always kind of trying to be in first to get a couple of bob there.
And the rosary?
Yes, yeah, in most houses in those days, at the rosary in the area behind. So we used to practice, but that's all died out now, fairly.
And what happened during religion class? Would your teacher just put something up on the board and just say to learn it, or how would it work?
Well, they tell you to learn it, and if you didn't learn it, the teacher had a lovely little ash plant about that end. And if you didn't, across the hands. Maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4.
And what was your first communion like?
It was a great day for me. Good day. It was a big occasion then, a huge occasion. Probably something like nowadays as well. Like you were down in a brought off place. It was a day out. Now, it wouldn't be it would not be as affluent as it is now. There wouldn't be as much money spent. It was very basic for everybody. The streets wouldn't be as good as they are now.
And was there any ever missions come to the Grange?
Yes, about once every couple of years. And the whole parish closed down for mission, and nobody stepped out of line. And it was fire and brimstone from the altar every day for about 6 days. And everybody attended. If you weren't seen at the mission, you were blacklisted in the parish. That's true.
Very strict rules.
Yeah.
Was there any more punishments than just the ash plant?
Oh, well, the ash plant was a little stick now, doesn't it? Because, no, basically, that did the job for you. Definitely did it. It put you on your guard all the time. It was always there hanging over you.
What games or pastimes did you play at home?
Well, I suppose at home in the school we had games like, probably you can call it hopscotch, skittles, chasing, cars, hurling, football. That was basically, and maybe sports in different places.
Which was your favourite out of them?
Probably hurling and football at that stage, yeah.
Yeah. Were there any other games that you'd play after school, but were they all the same?
Basically, it was a strong hurling area around here then. Actually, every day at lunchtime, there used to be always a game up there. Now, the church had a big high wall there, opposite the house there where Carrigan's shop used to be. And every day at lunchtime, there was Nicholas against the Clofty, and used to be helter-skelter on the road. Up and down. Now, there was no cars coming, so it was obviously very few cars made, but it was always Nicholas against the Clofty. And the dividing area was probably at the cross there. So all south of the cross was Clofty, all north was Nicholas. And it used to be quite serious. Often get very hot, and it got so serious. One time there was a match arranged one Sunday between the school, out of school, to play up near Keating's and Nicholas, and it was on a Sunday afternoon. I was very young at the time, but I remember going to see it. And Nicholas had a team 15, and Clofty had a team 15, and they played each other in a match up between Keating's and Nicholas and the Blind Bridge. So one of the fields in there. And I think it was the one and only match, because it ended up a small bit nasty.
What got you interested in hurling?
Well, probably when I was growing up and hurling and football, there was a very strong tradition of hurling and football in this area, because the Phelan team of the 60s, which won 3 countries in a row, it was backbone by people from Grange. There was at least 9 from Grange on the actual team. There was the Keatings and Nicholas. There was Babs Keating, there was John James, there was Michael Moore, there was Michael Burrow. They did the super team, and the backbone of the team was from Grange. So there was a strong tradition of hurling and football in the area at that particular time. Extra strong, very strong.
Was there different games that boys and girls played, or did you all play together?
No, I don't think that we all played together. The boys usually had at the hurleys on the shoulder coming into school with the bags, and the girls, I don't know what the girls did actually, but they probably played. So, but the boys just go to the road, up and down the road every day, while the school was up in Grange, which changed in 1956, and then we came down here.
Tell me about the card games that you played. Did you play cards?
25 probably, pontoon, poker, snap, loads of cards, any small card games that was down those. There was a very strong tradition of cards in this area. Certain house in the area had card games maybe every 2 weeks, and you would have a set 9 would go there every week and play, or set 7 or 8, set 6, and in some houses they played solo as well. It was only 4 people play that, but it was generally strong card area. And there was also a tradition of a whole lot of 25 card drives. Could be Phelan, could be Grange, could be Newcastle, Ballymacarbery, Care, Goldbridge, but there was a good tradition of cars in the area. That's there.
Your dad used to go to a lot of them.
A lot of cars, yeah. And that was even now, before the 25 drive, I don't know the progressive 25 came in. There was a very, because in those days, people had much transport, so it was always cycle up to the local house, park the bikes. Sometimes when they'd come out, the cars be over, someone would have taken the bikes. And often what happened in an odd house there, they'd be playing cards away inside, and some bright spark, and get a bag, go up on the roof and put a wet bag down the chimney, so all the smoke from the fire would smother the house, and everybody would have to take off. It happened several times, yeah. It's different houses, yeah.
Did you have any notable sporting successes?
A few here and there, yeah.
Don't be shy.
Well, I was on an Irish team that ran in the world cross-country champion one time. I'm still probably the only person from the area to make the world cross-country team. That was in 1972.
More information on the athletics that you took part in, because you were very involved. Do you have more information on athletics?
I suppose I could have, yeah, but I would have, what I say now. Right, I started athletics when I was in Care, and I joined the Care Athletic Club, and then I moved to Dublin, and I joined the North Harriers, which was the top team in Dublin at the time, and trained very hard there. Like we was trained every single day of the week. There was no rest days. Some days twice a day. And then I was working in Dublin Aer Lingus at the time for a couple of years, and then I got an athletics scholarship to Strawberry Hill in London. Well, it was a PE scholarship really where I got it through athletics, and I went to Strawberry Hill in London for a year and a half and came back to the PE college then in Limerick. And during that time then, I did a lot of running and a lot of success with the Nor in individual success in different races here and there. But, you know, athletics was good to me because I got my education from athletics, a third level education, university education, to be good at athletics basically.
Did any other family members have notable successes?
In sport, no.
You were the only one.
My mum knows was that. I have to be careful there. No, but my father was a very good cyclist in the 40s too. He won several county titles in the 40s at different distances on cycling, and won a lot of competition sports. And then Michael, my son was a member of the Irish team of under 16 that toured Australia for the compromise rules. He was also a member of the team that won the Munster under 21 hurling championship in 2002, and he played senior hurling for Tipperary as well, and senior football. He was captain of the Phelan team that won the county senior in 2005, basically.
Was there any football or hurling games that you will always remember, like was your favourite game?
Well, yes, there was. I would not involve myself now, but like the year after I won the county senior champion now, it was a big year, you know, to something that you'd always remember. And maybe the year that won the under 221 hurling champion Munster. It would be another occasion, and probably that I was in Australia as well for the compromise rules during 2016, so I would have at those occasions too, meeting guys like Jim Steins, you know, who was the only Irishman ever to win the football of the year in Australia.
What type of food or meals would you have had for, say, breakfast, dinner and supper?
I suppose in those days a lot of families were self-sufficient. Like you probably have porridge in the morning, maybe a boiled egg, because every family had hens, and then the meat would probably could have bacon at lunchtime or beef, and it would come, maybe a lot of farmers used kill their own pigs and cattle, and maybe have the meat frozen and kept for themselves. Generally a lot of people used to do that. So you'll have, generally, you have a normal diet, so something like you have today basically. There wouldn't be that much of a difference. Except a lot of the cooking and the bread was baked at home. All the mothers in those days used to do a lot of baking. It was lovely fresh bread nearly every morning, because they bake fresh cake nearly every single day. Because in those days the mothers spent most of the time in the home and in the kitchen, whereas nowadays that wouldn't be happening as much.
Would your mother ever make you bread?
She was always making bread. She was a fantastic woman for cooking bread. Every single day she'd make a fine big cake, and it would be fresh for the following morning.
Did you kill your own animals?
Yes, pigs, and yeah, particularly pigs.
Did you see this done, or who would have done it?
I saw it being done, yes. It was not a nice experience, seeing pigs get killed.
Did you use every part of the pig?
Basically, yes, every part. The blood of the pig was used for a black puddings, so they were made. Now, I won't say how the pigs were killed, but that was done, and all the meat was salted. All the meat used to be salted to keep it fresh, to be cut up and salted and kept in an outside, not a fridge. It was kind of a store that was that the meat was put into, and there was ventilation left through small little holes. It was kept in as cool as place as possible, but it was always salted very strongly to preserve it for as long as possible.
Were there foods for special occasions?
Well, there was definitely, yeah. Like in our house at home, we always had a fry on a Sunday morning. I don't know why. There was a tradition after Mass on Sunday, a big fry up.
And for Christmas, would you have had, say, maybe a turkey?
Oh yes, yes, turkey and ham, yes. Again, people always ordered turkeys in advance, because in those days everybody had turkeys. You know, every farmhouse always had 10 or 12 turkeys, and they'd sell the turkeys at Christmas to the local butchers who would sell them on. So nearly every farm place had turkeys and hens.
What were the rules for, say, Lent and for Mass?
Well, once upon a time, you you had to be fasting from midnight to receive Holy Communion. So that was for a long time. And then it was 3 hours, and then an hour to change. That's what it is.
Hello, John.
Hello, how are you?
Did you ever like work on a farm and live on a farm?
I did for all my youth and my growing up years.
What kind of like were you dairy farms? Did you
Mixed farming, most in those days it was mixed farming. Cows, tillage, cattle and so on and so forth. It was very mixed. And there was the hens and the pigs as well, so it was very mixed farming.
What was your favourite animal to look after?
The cows.
Did you like the milking, or what was your favourite part about the cows? Like, why did you like them?
Well, they were cows were generally friendly animals, but like I mean, you had got the satisfaction probably of milking the cows, and you see the milk in the bucket. Now in those days, all cows were milked by hand. So you got yourself a stool, a bucket. You sat under the cow and you milked away, and if she kicked you, she spilled the milk. That was tough, but and they had to be treated kindly, because if they got anywhere nervous, they would start kicking out.
What kind of crops did you grow?
Beet, turnips, wheat, barley, all spuds, potatoes, cabbage, you name it, everything was grown on the farm in those days.
Can you tell us about the trashing day?
The thrashing day was a big day in the life of the farmer. What the farmers used to do, maybe 7 or 8 or 9 farmers pulled together, and a big thrashing mill, which was owned by Ted Donald down beyond where Jack Keith lived, down there used to go, and he'd come around to one farmer one day, and all the local farmers, all 9 or 10, would all come in with their men to do the thrashing. They would try to get it finished in 1 or 2 days. Now, a big thrashing mill was a big mill. It was a huge, would come in, and the thing was the straw was in reaped and binder, so the straw had to be put into something at the back of it to trash it away. The grain come out on one bag. The straw would go up a big pulley onto a big reek. You might have 6 fellas working on a big reek of straw, forking it out as the straw would come up. You would also have one man shoveling away the chaff, which was the dust, which was an awful job. So the bales were thrown. There was a steward of bales of rib and binder thrown down to a man below. He'd cut the cord, put it in there. The straw would be trashed. The straw would be separated. The grain would come out into bags. You'd have people putting away in the bags. So you had one person on bags. You'd have 2 on bags, with 1 person on chaff. Two people feeding the mill. About 6 people on the reek. So they were all working non-stop the whole day. The worst job of them all was the poor fella on the chaff, because he was all dust and just blown up in his face. And then at the end of the day, every farmer in those days, what they used to do, they used to bring in a couple of cases of large bottles of Guinness, and everyone there would get at least 1 large bottle at the end of the day to finish them off. But it was tough going now for people, because the straw was going to be out back, and if the reek wasn't done right to topple over, so it had to be a walk down and kept good and solid.
What can you tell us about the different kind of machines that you used?
Again, now the farming in those days, there was very little. Have any ever done the history of the Stone Age and the Iron Age? Well, the Iron Age was basically, it stayed in Ireland up about the 1950s. In the 1950s, you were still ploughing with the steel plough. You were tilling with the spring harrow, the common harrow. You were looking after the beat. You were hoeing the beat and the mangers with the hoe. Everything was just steel, and being followed with horses. And the reaping and binder was cutting again with the blade, reaping and wrapping. So up to 19, let's say from the year of the Stone Age up to the mid-50s, there was very little change in farming. But after the mid-50s, everything changed. It became mechanised, tractors, automobile, everything became automatic. You would have no idea if you saw farming nowadays compared to farming in the 50s. There's no comparison. In those days, if you had to plough an acre of land, you had one iron plough ploughing one sod at a time, 2 horses putting the plough, and the farmer had to walk behind that every single day, and that's how much he would plough every sod. Nowadays, the tractors have 5 sods, they drive down, up and down. It would take him about 20 minutes to plough an acre, whereas in those days it was a full day of walking up and down fields non-stop. It was a savage work for a farmer. And then after the ploughing, then you get a spring harrow, which is a big spring, and you follow the horses up and down the field again to try and break it up. And then you get the common harrow, and you have to break it up more. And then you get the corn drill. So it was a huge labour of love and huge, massive labour. People have no idea of the change if they hadn't experienced it.
So there's definitely been changes on the farms, but do you think that they've been for better?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, there's no comparison. Like, I mean, why would you follow a horse for one day to plough an acre when you do the tractor in half an hour? That's it, isn't it, basically?
What other careers did you have?
No careers. Well, I left cycling school and I worked in Aer Lingus for nearly 5 years, and then as I told you earlier on, I got a physical education scholarship to Strawberry Hill, and I spent 4 years between Strawberry Hill and Limerick, and then I qualified as a PE teacher, and then up to 4 years ago I was a PE teacher. Well, I was principal in the school for 7 or 8 years to finish off it, and that was my life. So I was a PE teacher for maybe 30 years and principal for maybe 8 years, and then I've retired too, and a nice lifestyle.
So, John, what would be like a typical school day?
Typical school day was, well, the first thing you got in the morning, you probably had to go up to the top field and bring in the cows before you came to school, and then have our breakfast, and then walk to school. I don't even mind to walk. Some children 3 or 4 miles to walk, but we walked to school and back every. Well, we didn't walk. We were running very fast because we were always on the last minute. So we had to run basically to school. Yeah.
And what kind of clothes would you wear to school?
Short pants for starting off in the certain number, and probably jump in the short.
And what kind of work would you do?
In school?
Yeah.
Same as you're probably doing today, except it wouldn't have been as sophisticated or advanced. But in school, there was big long desks taking the full width of the room. There might be 10 people on each desk, and everyone had an equal in front as well. So you were getting you got into this. There was about 6 or 7 rows. So the 60 or 70 kids in the room were just all together in maybe 8 a desk, 9 a desk, or 10 a desk. So it was fairly congested, and you always had somebody alongside you too if you wanted to concentrate and to walk. You would always be disturbed, as you can well imagine.
And what would you bring to lunch on a school day?
Probably a bread, butter, and a sandwich. Probably, and maybe a bottle of milk, something like that.
And where did you go to school?
In Grange, started school in the old school in Grange, but that was only a 2-teacher school.
Did you enjoy your time there?
I did.
As you said earlier, that if you did not learn any your homework, you get a slap down on the ruler or junior.
So therefore, you always did your homework. You know what? I know that happened. You were smart.
Did it ever happen to you?
Well, I got a few. I suppose over the years, all right. Yeah. Well, they were probably well deserved.
And which teacher did you prefer most?
Well, the way it worked in the old school was that there was one teacher had infants, senior infants, 1st and 2nd class, and then the master had 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So there was 4 classes together all the time. Now, the thing about the school there again, there was one fireplace in each school, kind of a boiler. So somebody came in the morning before school, started the fire in the boiler in the 2 rooms. So everybody had that job as well. Somebody else came in and did the fire early on. And that was the heating for the day then.
What subjects would you do in school?
In those days again, there was an examination at the end of 6th class called the prime set. So there was English, Maths and Irish. 3 subjects you did examine in those days.
And And what were your principals and teachers like?
It's good. Try it. Very good. Mr. Shea, who was very much into hauling for a long time in the school, so it was great. He was a very good at it. Tough matches out there with him as well. If somebody didn't like it, he gave him a crack across the shin.
Which was your favourite subject?
History.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, what secondary school did you go
Right,
to?
just before you went to secondary school now, I started in the old school in Grange and I moved to the new school, so I was one of the first people to come into this school here in 1956. And at that time in the school, I think there were only about 54 pupils, if I remember rightly. And the run was very small. And I left school here, and I went to secondary school in the high school then. And then I finished off my secondary education in Care.
Know anything about how your mother or father was like, what it was like for them in school?
My father went to school in Grange again now. Before I go on back, his mother was the principal teacher in Grange from 1909 to 1930, for 35, 36, but in the girls' school they didn't amalgamate. But her education was, she was trained in Bagot Street as a teacher, and my father then went to school in Grange, and then he went to high school in Drumhead for I think 2 years, and then he went farming. My mother was from Phelan. She went to school in Phelan, finished her primary school level there.
And
then,
would your parents, their school time be much the same to yours?
I wouldn't think so. I'd say to be even a different situation altogether. I'd say to be much tougher regime in those days. Much tougher regime than our days.
And what about inspectors visiting? Do you remember any inspectors
I do.
coming to the school?
For
What was that
fighting
like?
living daylights out of us when you come in. You were brought up and you sat up on the table and he brought you up and around in a ring and he went through question after question after question. And everything was grand while he was there. But if you happened to miss a question when he was gone, you were told about it by the principal. Didn't like it if you'd got something wrong, because in those days the inspectors had a strong power in the schools, and especially for things like that, they were kind of judging the teachers on.
And if I remember right, back in your dad's time, even teachers were paid on results, weren't they?
Yeah,
So
and
their pay depended on good results.
And again, in my grandmother's time teaching, to get paid, she had to call down to the parish priest every month to collect her wages. It wasn't sent up by the department, so it was, and parish priest might even be there, but they could hang on to it for a couple of weeks, but it was a case that they had to drive down, collect the money, and then come back again.
And religion exams in your dad's time, they were tough too, because I have records in the school where names of all the people and what the scores they got in religion tests.
That's right.
They kept
That's
all
right,
that
yeah.
was kept.
Even I think that was something early on, I think, again.
Yeah.
That finished.
I have your dad's name on one of those lists.
Could you name 3 things that could be done to improve our community?
Our community, yeah. I suppose at the moment I'd like to see a bigger sense of belonging in the community. Everybody's kind of too isolated and too scattered now, and then a sense of identity. Like I think Grange over the years, from my time up, I find there's a definite lack of identity in the parish, and I think it's going back to generations. I think as a parish we might probably have been spoiled. There doesn't seem to be the community spirit in general in the place that you'd find in other places. Maybe I think one of the reasons it might be slightly an affluent parish that hasn't been, because what does the word Grange means? It means a fertile area, doesn't it? So I think that maybe it's one of the causes that the people were very basically independent in the area and never really get together as a community to help each other. And I feel myself that has been lacking. I think if you analyse it over the years, I think people will agree that the bond of Grange, even like, for example, if there's Grange people involved in different activities, we say, or around the place, that there might be good or bad, people just don't seem to know about it, whereas in other places, it's a topic of conversation.
Thank you very much for doing this interview with us as part of the Digital Recollection Project organised by Rúteanna Tíre. We have really enjoyed talking to you and have learned a lot about times in the past.
Are you sure?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.